The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And here he is again. It's his show. It's Brandon.
All right, here's hoping the United States listeners had a happy and safe 4th of July. This is the Brandon Peters Show. Today's episode features, and I am freaking stoked for this, actually, a discussion of 1984's breakdance marvel, Breakin. Joining me for that discussion from So Blu and his brand new YouTube video essay series, which Aaron Neuwirth and I are not calling anything but the Peter Paris Show. It's Peter Paris.
Hey, good to be here.
Hello, welcome, Pete. Now, my listeners, if they listen to everything, they've heard you before because the commentary series gets released on this show as well as out now with Aaron and Abe, and you are a regular staple of that. But this is like your first time knowing or going in being like on the show proper. So, welcome.
Yeah, I'm excited to be on.
Yeah,
I think you've been doing it. Like I really, yeah. Wait, how long have you been doing this now? How many episodes are you on? What episode is this?
39?
Wow.
39
That's
of
great.
like, yeah, of just like the regular Monday shows, not counting the bonus week, the holiday specials week I did. So I've done more. Yeah. So week 39, 40-ish, something like that.
Wow.
Well, since September of last year. So
okay.
End of September.
Yeah, I was thinking about 6 months, so a little longer.
Yeah, a little longer.
Yeah.
It's gone quick. It's been fun. Still fun. Still got fresh faces like yourself to come on and talk about it. And I get to people know this, but I give you shit daily. We have a little message group.
Yes, literally daily. Yes,
literally daily that we argue up and down about films. I give Pete shit. Sometimes Pete's like, "You joking?" I'm like, "I'm always joking." So, but you've recently got a new endeavor doing something you've been wanting to do and been like prepping and working at the video essays on YouTube. Does it have an official name or is it just Pete's YouTube channel?
Well, as my shirt says, years ago, I want to say it was my gamer tag. It was a long time. It was either my gamer tag or Twitter, but somewhere along the line, like my name is Peter James, and somewhere along the line, I thought pajama would be kind of a fun thing. So my gamer tags, my social media is all pajama. So my YouTube has been pajama for years, and I didn't really post much. Like went to Fiona Apple show, I might like post some footage of being at the show, but I've never really had a theme. But with the pandemic, I really got into, I've always been into podcasts, like yours stuff. I love podcasts, but I wasn't really into video essays or video reviews because I didn't really have time. But now that I'm not commuting to work, like most of us, I started watching tons of them on YouTube, and I got into Patrick H. Willems and Lindsay Ellis and the Honest Trailers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not really an essay, and so I really got into those. So I just recently took an online class at UCLA. I'm in Los Angeles, and I took an online class at UCLA just for about writing and analysis. And the second part of the class goes into social media. So it was like, do a review on Twitter or whatever. One of the weeks it was like, do a video review, or if you want, do a podcast. And I was like, this is my chance. Like I can totally do a video review or an essay. I should say my job in real life, I work for entertainment studios. So I do promos for old movies, a lot of stuff from like the 70s and 80s. So I'm used to cutting promos. So hopefully that skill worked well into doing video essays. And video essays, in case people don't know, it's kind of like a movie review, but it could be about one movie, or it could be like about a theme that you see. But it's not necessarily just about, is it good or bad? It's more about like kind of diving in and stuff. And so I really wanted to do that. So yeah, so I've done two traditional movie reviews, and I've done 2 video essays. One on Step Up to the Streets, which, as we know, Breakin,
Right.
precursor to that. And then I did a top 5 on Taylor Swift's music videos. And I know you love music videos.
I do.
And
Yeah.
discuss music videos. That was another thing that I felt like I didn't see a lot of people discussing music videos, and I was like, oh, that might be kind of fun to like talk about. So yeah,
it really is.
So it's great.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's kind of because while we still have music videos, they are kind of become a relic, like because they're not.
I mean, they I don't know. I know people say that, but I mean,
not
I would have
crucial to the marketing as they used to be.
Right. I would agree on that. But when you have, I mean, I don't know, how old is the what was Gangnam Style? What is that? 5-7 years?
10?
It's a while. Maybe 10. That's like billions of views. I mean, so it's not. I mean, it's not
still different.
Right. And a Taylor Swift video, like up until her new album, which is smaller because it's an indie thing or whatever, or an indie vibe, like her 2 big albums, those are like, you know, hundreds of millions or billions of views. So I was like, well, they're pretty big. But you're right. I would agree with you. When I was a kid, you had MTV, you would talk about the latest Nirvana video or Michael Jackson or whatever. And that was a thing. So I understand what you're saying about it being its use as a marketing tool, I think was much more prevalent in the 80s and 90s. But I don't know. I definitely feel like when I like an artist, especially like a pop artist, I definitely want to see their music video. Lady Gaga, probably another one. I definitely want to see what their music videos are. I hope they never go away, because I think I would assume these videos are pretty expensive. The big ones, like a Taylor Swift video.
But back then, you were a band or a pop artist, like part of your first album and everything was, we got to do the music video, pick the 3 songs, we'll shoot them before you go. Now, you might not get that. Like, it's
true. That's true.
And the ones we're talking about are huge and hugely established artists, and possibly the hangovers from like when music videos were last somewhat prevalent too.
Right.
You got your Katy Perry's, Taylor Swift's, all them, and Gaga, of course. But plus, Gaga's always going to do it. She's very theatrical, so I would imagine we see
right.
Videos. Do you got any upcoming videos or anything you're working on now?
No, Well, I will probably, I saw Black Widow. So I'm going to do a written review for the site for whysoblu.com. And then I will probably do a short video review of Black Widow. But as far as an essay, I don't know. I mean, I really wanted to do a thing on music videos, and I really wanted to do a thing on a dance thing. I could keep going. Like maybe I could do something on breaking. Maybe I could do something on other music videos. I don't know. I sometimes think about, and I think a lot of video essays are like this. You think about a film or a series that you love, you know, like the Matrix sequels and why they're great. I've seen there's a ton of those online, where somebody wants to see something that everyone thinks is terrible, so they want to defend it. I could probably think of something like that. I don't know. I would like to. One of the things I really like about your show is, and I think that's about anybody who does, you know, things on YouTube or a podcast, is it's very much about consistency. And so in my mind, especially because we're in summer movie season, I'm like, well, I really just got to keep doing this. I think that when it was a class project, like it puts you under the gun. You're like, all right, I'm hopefully going to be creative, and I hope this is really good. But then when you're not, it's that weird thing of like, well, should I just keep doing this? Even if it's not good, the act of doing it hopefully makes me better. I'm assuming you would say yes, that's a good thing to just keep going.
Imaginary
Don't,
deadline.
Delay it.
Like I always need to have a video by here. And here's the thing I'll tell you about. You may think it's not all there, or you might just be like, well, I just got something out. Come around, someone comes to you and been like, man, that was one of my favorites, or when you did that, I really liked that point, and you're like I've had that with I've never done that in podcasting, but I've had some of my Why So Blu reviews. I just get stacks, or I get behind and I got to catch up, and I can't put the concentrated effort into some of my reviews. I'm like, okay, I can get me get my 3 to 5 paragraphs and call it a day on my content. Specs are another thing, because I always like, well, by the time a Blu-ray's coming out or something, like, they don't need my movie review. They want to know the specs because it's the Blu-ray. But people have come to me on shit that I swear I mailed in, and like, whoa, I'm like, well, that came out of my ass. But all right, glad it touched you, or glad you got a real thing.
It's so funny you say that. I literally had, I wouldn't say it was as big a praise as you were doing, but a little behind this, if I can talk about it, behind the scenes here at So Blu, I ended up doing Godzilla versus Kong.
Right.
You were going to do Godzilla versus Kong. I ended up doing it, and I did it quickly because I was like, oh, okay, I'll just do this. I rewatched it. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy the movie. And then, on my Facebook page, on my Twitter, I always post my So Blues, and I usually get like some likes, like something like that. But I actually woke up yesterday, and a woman I met in an improv class I took, like, shared my Godzilla Kong review, and she's like, oh, this is really good. My friend Peter, and this is one of the best Godzilla movies ever. And I was like, what's like, and it was sort of to what you're saying, that in my mind, I was like, okay, well, I'll write the review part, but the big deal is the audio and the video. It's like, how good is this 4K compared to streaming and stuff? Right. Which, it was not something that, I wrote it in a night because I was like, I just got to get this done. Like, so, but that is always really nice. It's cool if somebody like appreciates. It's cool anytime somebody appreciates something.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I always very appreciative of, praise and stuff. It's crazy to think that someone would care about, I do it because I like it, because I enjoy things that when people do. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. Well, I'm always hard on myself too. I always like, I'm a hack. I always have that. It's just my mind. I'm like, why would someone pay attention to me or like something I'm doing? It's always just a weird thing. It's just who I am. I'm not trying to be fake humble or anything. It's just how I roll, which I can imagine you probably have that same feeling. So you're like, oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Like, that's why I'm not an alpha. I'm not like, yeah, you like my stuff. I'm like, all right. I'm confident in my work, and I'm not. It's an odd.
No, I feel the same. In doing a podcast like yours, or in what I'm trying to do with the video and stuff, it's a strange thing because, like, like right now, Black Widow is not out yet. So in theory, if I were to do the video thing and post it, in my mind, I'm like, whoa, maybe it'll get some views because not everybody has seen it, but I don't know. Then I'm like, but there's still enough outlets. And then something like, and maybe this can connect us to talking about Breakin. When I did my first video essay, I wanted to do it on Step Up 2. And in many ways, what I like about Step Up 2 is the same thing I like about Breakin. And I sort of thought, I think mistakenly, I was like, well, how many people have done something about Step Up 2? So I don't know, like, is it good to find something in pop culture that maybe a lot of people haven't talked about? Or is it better to just be like, look, man, it's a Marvel movie. Everybody knows about these Marvel movies. Just go with that. I don't know.
That's what
I've been sure.
I'll tell you what, like, yeah, if it's probably going to get you attention with the Marvel, but how far buried into the Marvel pit are you going to be? Yeah, and I don't know. My show here, I've been trying to just go for odd favorites of people, stuff that people aren't talking about every week, and I'm sure my show probably could get better numbers if I just had more pop-click SEO-friendly titles, but I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in, like, how many people are searching for a podcast talking about how to lose a guy in 10 days?
Right,
I want to have
exactly.
that's the conversations I want to have.
Right.
Like, we all currently, in the moment with Marvel, it's cyclical conversations. Like, it can be a different person, but they're going to hit on the same things. They're going to... If I'm going to talk about something like that, like when I did my Back to the Future episode, I've got to have a reason why it's going to not be the same conversation. I did, when I first started the show, I did Back to the Future, but we recast it as if it was made in the 90s. That was our conversation. So we talked about the characters and what they meant and stuff, and how you would get another actor to fit that, or what means. Those kind of things came out in a different way, and we had a lot of fun with it, and I got a lot of good feedback on that episode. I just worked my ass off on putting it together, that I'm like, I haven't approached remaking anything else yet, but that was the conversation I would have. I'm like, that's an interesting angle to have with Back to the Future, because we can all, it's, the movie's that old, podcasts are that old, written essays, like, it's been done. So I don't know, what you could do is like Shudder releases a movie every Thursday. You could start doing essays on those. There's hungry horror fans that are going to be looking for
That's true.
For those, movies. I mean, granted, you're not going to be in the, it's probably going to be a dice roll with how good they are, but that's something. But yeah, Step Up 2 is a great choice. Like, that's a excellent choice that people probably aren't getting visual essays on all the time. And it deserves it. It really, I mean, that series really does.
Yeah, like, no, well, thanks, man. Like, it goes kind of with your how to lose a guy in 10 days thing, is that like right now, where I am right now, and I'm sure you, even though you've done so many, I'm sure you somewhat feel this way because you're still in your first year, is that it's such a cliche thing to say, but like right now, as long as you're having fun, if you're like, you know what, this is something I want to do, this is something I want to talk to people about. I mean, I think that's kind of all that really should matter.
Well, the fun of this show is the bounce for me right now. Like, I love, since I'm not selecting movies pretty much all the time, it's the way it's been floating has been fun as hell. Like, I took a week off, and then I came back and we did The Haunting, then I did The Writer, then I did Hawk the Slayer, and now I'm doing Breakin'. Like, and How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days was in that bounce too. It was like, I love the bounce. I'm like, this is so weird, and I don't know where I'm going next. Yeah, crazy. but yeah, you have you put together videos before. You said background was post-production type things, something when you went out to LA you wanted to do, or like what was
when I moved to LA a billion years ago in 2000. I honestly, I just knew I wanted to work in entertainment. I was a big fan of film criticism already, but I was probably like most other people. I was like, oh, I want to, write, direct, act. I want to work on a show, work on a movie. And then I ended up getting a job at E! Entertainment Television, which would later become known for like Keeping Up with the Kardashians and things like that. Things I'm not really into. So I would do promos for reality shows, but E! Entertainment had a component. They had an E! Online. And I ended up getting to know the editor, and I was like, hey, man, do you guys ever do movie reviews or video games? That's another big thing I was in. And they didn't have anybody for video games. And so that was my way in. I was like, oh, well, I could give you like 5 games this year that are awesome. And so that was my first gig, like freelancing for like a site or whatever. Yeah. And I really liked it. And then I would say my career, my life in LA has been professionally basically in promos. Not like I said, now I worked at MGM before, and now I'm at Entertainment Studios. But like on a personal level, I've liked reviewing basically movies and games. Strangely, I'm not really that into television. I watch a ton of television. Yeah. But I have I have a friend who does a podcast, and I go her podcast where we talk about whatever we watched that week or whatever. And what I like about that is, I mean, I know those people. So again, it's just, well, not, I think you meant bounce in a different way, but I like the back and forth with talking to people about what they're watching. But I would say primarily, I pretty much stick to like movies and video games and stuff.
that death, man.
Come on, sucker, right now.
She was good.
I'm better.
Who do you think you are anyway, Fred Astaire?
Who? Don't be mistaken, you've got to see Breakin.
Breakin is directed by Joel Silberg, written by Gerald Scaife, Charles Parker, and Alan de Beauvoir. It stars Lucinda Dickey, Adolfo Quinones, Michael Chambers, Christopher McDonald, and Ice-T. And look closely, folks, it features a cameo from action icon Jean-Claude Van Damme. This is 2 years before No Retreat, No Surrender, and 4 years before his breakout in Bloodsport. Features a struggling young jazz dancer who meets up with two breakdancers. Together, they become the sensation of the street crowds. So, Pete, tell us why you wanted to bring Breakin to the show.
Honestly, I mean, it's really just a personal thing. When I was young and I saw Breakin in theaters, because I'm that old, I would say before Breakin, all my movie things were basically pretty much, I guess, Star Wars, or at least Lucas Spielberg. Because by that time, I had already seen Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I'd probably seen some Star Trek. Right, it's 84, so I think
Star Trek 2 would have been out there. Yeah,
Star Trek 2 would have been out by then. I would say Breakin is a big deal for me personally, because until that movie, and it's not really not just the movie, it's also like, hip hop in the 80s and breakdancing and graffiti and street art, all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like before that, my pop culture love was, I guess what we would say is genre, like horror movies. Like I'd seen The Thing. I remember I begged my mom to let me go see The Thing. My mom, terrified of horror films. And I think my aunt or someone took me, and I was probably way too, what was that, 82? I was probably way too young to see The Thing. But so I would say my taste basically as a young movie buff was basically genre. It was like sci-fi horror.
Mm-hmm.
And Breakin was the kind of thing where I was 13 or 14. And so I was just at that age when like, sort of like there's maybe kids down the street that are starting to do this thing. And then I'm getting into breakdancing and your cardboard box and stuff. And then this movie comes out by Canon, which of course I have no idea. I would later see that documentary about Canon Studios and everything. But like, it is so strange to say, but I think for me, it was one of the first movies I saw. This is going to sound ridiculous. It was one of the first movies I saw where they were real people. I mean, they're not. It is such a weird scripted candy version of Los Angeles. I mean, I'm from Chicago, but what I mean by that is they're not superheroes. They're not Jedis. They're not teenagers running away from Jason. It's just like, these are people living in LA and she wants to be a dancer and I don't know. I thought that seemed so cool to me. Over the years, it has just become a mainstay. It's a thing that I've had on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray. I've just seen it so many times. When I was younger, I remember, I think I saw it at a first run theater with my best friend. And then it went to a dollar theater. And when I say a dollar theater, because I have no idea when people say that now what that means, but it was literally like $1.50.
Yeah, I had those, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I saw Breakin like 7 times. Like every day after school, just let's go see Breakin again. So I saw Breakin so many times. I love it. And then the other thing I want to say, which kind of relates to the essay I did on Step Up, is that I don't think, I mean this in the best way, that I understand when people talk about what they love about a movie is, especially if you become a film fan, or I guess if you television, whatever, you really start to love the craft of acting, of writing, of direction. And that's all great. I don't think that, I mean, I love that. But I do think, sometimes I think that as audience members, we sometimes forget that, or we're sort of fooling ourselves if we're thinking that the only reason we think a movie is good is because it has to have good characters and it has to have a good plot. I don't think that's true. I think you probably could talk way more than I can, that what I'm getting at is probably sort of what you like about the Friday the 13th movies. I don't think anybody would say, oh my God, this is Academy Award winning writing and acting.
Yeah,
no, that's not why you're seeing a Friday the 13th movie. And I think that, a breakdancing, a dance movie by this time Saturday Night Fever had already been out, and that's obviously a very well made like drama / dance. But I think there is something to losing yourself in a movie, and it's not really, it is not about what we think of on that craft level. I do think it is about the craft of dancing and the use of music and editing. So I'm not saying there's no craft. There is, of course, craft, but it is a different thing. So even though I also laugh at the clunky dialogue in Breakin and some of the acting and the plot structure, I do. I think it's silly and I can't defend it. I don't really think it matters.
No.
And again, maybe to your Friday the 13th thing, like I feel like we don't discuss that enough. It's like when I think on another level, when we talk about the Mission Impossible movies, which are made on a huge budget and they're extremely well made. And those are well acted and everything. But honestly, I couldn't tell you anything about Ethan Hunt as a character. He's Tom Cruise, and I love Tom Cruise. But like, what I like about Mission Impossible is, wow, Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie, they've designed these really cool set pieces where Tom and the crew are doing these amazing stunts and everything. And it looks great and it moves great. And that's great. But is it really about it? I'm not saying it's not about the plot, because it's like, it is, but I don't know. So to me, something like Mission Impossible, that is a $150 million version. But something like Step Up, I think, can have the same charms where I just really like, I love all this kind of stuff. I love the dancing. But anyways, go ahead.
Step Up's it's a feeling. It's a vibe. Yeah. It's an inspiration, and it plays out that way. And the fact that it does have that clunky dialogue and stuff, that's part of the charm. And because it doesn't have the best actors, but it's got the right ones for this because they're charismatic people.
And their skills as dancers.
And their skills they're skilled dancers.
Right.
Ozone and Turbo, put them in anything. Like, they are fun as hell. Like,
they're very charming. Yeah.
I love this movie. Like, I really do. I think this is fun as hell. And I didn't see it till like I was older, but I was like, damn, this thing, like, I want to dance after it. Like, that's the power of Breakin. You want to go, you want to move, you want to dance, you enjoy it. And it's not even like
change
the best,
the world through dance.
It's not even the best directed thing in the world either. Like, but like, I like the people they picked to put in this damn movie. Like, it works so well. I'm glad it got a sequel. Like, it deserved it. And I don't know. It's got enough of the story to be about dancing, to teach us about a different kind of dancing, to show overcoming adversity in many different ways through the dance, and the friendships we made along the way, of course. But it works. It's just, and it's quick too, and it doesn't try to over dramatize stuff. It hits the necessary beats that it's supposed to, and yeah, I think it succeeds wholeheartedly. Like, we talk about star ratings all the time, but like, Breakin would be a high star rating for me that people are like, what?
Yeah.
But the feeling I have after it, and I've returned to this movie a lot. Like, I showed this movie. I was like, you know what? I'm going to show this movie to my kids. They freaking loved it.
Oh, that's awesome.
They were up and dancing. They liked Ozone and Turbo. And then when I had it on, I was watching it to prep for the episode last night. My son goes, "Oh, you're watching the dancing movie?" He didn't remember the name. Like, he's like, "Yeah." He's like, and he sat and watched it for a bit again, like, because he saw Ozone and Turbo. He's like, "Here we go." And this comes together from a very, very canon produced thing, because the Menahem and Golan, they put it together, and they've got like this Israeli director making his American debut, trying to this breakdancing. Like, is he the right guy to understand this? He would later, and oddly enough, he'd later direct the movie Rappin'.
Oh, nice.
And he did Lambada. So
the Forbidden Dance.
He was into the dance and the popular waves, but in the Scaife, the guy who wrote the screenplay. So there's three guys who wrote the screenplay. Dave Beauvoir, he also produces This Is It, credit-wise, and Parker writes Breakin' 2. That's their kind of thing. But Scaife, he ended up being a production manager for M. Night Shyamalan, pretty much. He did Signs, The Village, Lady in the Water, Happening, Last Airbender. He did the Matrix sequels, Van Helsing, Jarhead, and was a construction accountant on whatever that is, on Titanic, Congo, Landis's Innocent Blood, Wayne's World, Predator 2, Bugsy, Patch Adams, Mission to Mars, and recently Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. So he's got a interesting side career from being a screenwriter, and it's shot by the cinematographer of Ernest Scared Stupid, and he's got the Lucinda Dickey trilogy down because he shoots Breakin' 2 and Ninja 3 Domination, and also shot Masters of the Universe. So he was Hanina Baer was on hand at Canon as well. But I mean, this movie was.
Is she in Master of the Universe?
No, she's not. She's Lucinda Dickey. She's in
Ninja 3. She's in Ninja 3.
Yeah. So
Breakin' 1 and 2. That was right.
Yeah,
okay.
Lucinda Dickey was like this girl that Canon thought was going to be their it girl. They needed a Jennifer Beals person, and she was coming off. She had been in Grease 2 and was a solid gold dancer, and they gave her this multi-picture deal. I think they gave her a 4-picture deal and only came through on 3 of them. But she would do Breakin'. After this, she goes on to Ninja 3, The Domination, which if you haven't seen that movie, put it at the top of your list. It is batshit crazy.
I was going to say, as I recall, because I've seen parts of it, maybe, is it that she's possessed? Is that what it is?
It is Flashdance meets The Exorcist. Meets one of the ninja movies from Canon, and it's a sequel to Ninja 2 somehow. It's nuts. It's one of those it's a party movie. Like, you put it on with a group of friends and everybody's having a good time. You'll never think of V8 the same again, and it's just wild. It's hard to explain, but it is Flashdance, The Exorcist, and a ninja movie. It's
interesting what you say, though, because like, I had a huge crush on Lucinda Dickey, obviously. Like, I had a huge crush on her, and I feel like sort of the same in Step Up 2 when you had Brianna Evigan, who is basically, Step Up 2 is kind of like their version of Breakin'. What's interesting is, like, in the world we live in now, we're talking about streaming, and there's just way more opportunities. I wouldn't say that I think Brianna Evigan has become like some big star. She had, what is it, Sorority Row, the remake of Sorority Row. But if you look at her credits at IMDb, she has consistently worked. Like, she's probably been on Law and Order. Like, she's been on things where it's like, oh, she's in one episode. I feel like Lucinda Dickey, if you put her in the mid 2000s in the same position leading a dance movie, she probably would be doing okay. Like, she'd probably be like, yeah, she's doing a bunch of stuff. But yeah, I feel like, to me, I'm like, oh man, what happened to Lucinda Dickey? Like, she's so great, like, it just wasn't, I don't think she had the opportunities back then for, she's not going to get a Julia Roberts role. Like, so.
Right.
Yeah.
No. And Canon took chances on people that probably never would have ever had any other chances.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're proud to them. But she did this movie called Cheerleader Camp. That was her last movie, really.
I wonder if that's horror.
I think it might be.
Actually, I feel like you would know because you've seen so many of that like era.
I think it might be. I'm not sure. But yeah, her career was... I think she went probably back to dance stuff, too. I mean, that's not going to show up on IMDb if you're doing
that makes sense.
Stage. But, Canon Films, what they want to do, like... And I'm excited we're talking about a Canon Films movie. Haven't done that on a podcast for a while. But the fact that we both love this movie, the success of it and how good it is kind of a miracle because they rushed this thing to production.
Like, that's what I heard.
They were trying to cash in on Beat Street from Orion was going into production, and they wanted to beat it to the theater, and they did by like 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, it's not by much.
Or 2-3 weeks, and that was the goal. Just get me a breakdance movie now. And they did. And they won the box office battle between the two. But they wanted to crash in no matter what they were going to put something on the big screen. And they later would do this with the salsa craze in the late 80s, and they got Salsa out a couple years before Lambada, which we just mentioned. That director, Breakin, did the competing one. But that was the thing. This is hot. We need a movie about it.
I'll tell you.
We need a movie about it.
I'll tell you, I saw Breakin'. I don't know if it was opening night, but I mean, I saw Breakin' in a packed theater, and crowd loved it. It was great. And I absolutely remember a friend of mine bring this up. I remember we saw Beach Street, like you said, maybe 3 weeks later or something. And I like Beach Street.
Beach Street's a pretty good movie. Like they both are
good.
Good movies.
It's definitely more of the Saturday Night Fever vein.
It's a drama.
It's definitely more of a drama.
Yeah.
But I remember being in a packed house for Beach Street, probably the same people that I saw Breakin' with. Like it's probably the same strangers. And I remember about 40 minutes into Beach Street, somebody was like, "Get to the break-in," and then like everybody laughed because it is more of a drama. And it's like you've got a bunch of teenagers that just want to see dancing. And you're like, I want to see the battles and everything. So, and again, obviously as an adult, I appreciate Beach Street more. But yeah, when I was younger, Breakin' all the way.
Beach Street's the one you make down the road after you have a bunch of breakdance movies that are like really into the culture. And then you're like, here's the drama one.
Here's the grits.
It's the Logan of the breakdancing
That's
movies.
Good. Yes, it is.
But Beach Street is a good. They're both good. So I mean,
of course, yeah.
As viewers, we win. But if I'm going to a breakdance movie, I want breaking. I want like craziness, wild, showing the culture of it, and this one delivers on that. And it's just amazing to me it happened.
Think when I got them both on VHS, I think that Breakin' was the movie that my friends and I would watch from beginning to end. Beach Street was the movie that we would watch only the dancing scenes, and then we would try to like mimic the dancing scenes. It would be like, oh my God, that scene at the Roxy. Like I know, like, you put my VHS tape in, it's probably at that scene because that's the scene we would watch over and over again.
Gotcha.
I know there's a scene in Flashdance that you brought up, Jennifer Beals. There's one scene in Flashdance where Beals and her friends, they're walking down the street and then there's like a breakdancing scene. Same thing. My videotape was always at that scene. That's the scene I want to see. But Breakin', I watched the whole thing. Just like the whole thing's just so much fun,
Right. And
wrapped up in the
Breakin's kind of like the take a left at Flashdance because she's going for that career, like same with Flashdance, but she spins to the pop thing, which she meets Ozone and Turbo, played by Adolfo Quiñones, who recently passed away, which is very sad.
Yeah.
But he was after this movie. He was deemed hip hop's first matinee idol because of this movie's success. Michael Chambers, Turbo, he was known as Shrimp or Boogaloo Shrimp. He winds up being this choreographer throughout his career, hiding in like things like he was like the Urkelbot on Family Matters. He was the robot Bill in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and then he was did the choreography for Do the Bartman. So I guess he just told them how to animate dancing.
Wait, really? Oh.
Yeah, and he was the visual reference for animating Casper in the Christina Ricci movie. Like it was really crazy where he went on to.
That is crazy. Wow.
But those two just. This movie lifts off with them, like, and the way they mesh with Lucinda Dickey, like, really has a good friendship. Granted, there's a kind of chemistry with Zone and her. Go out too much, but I mean, it all works, and you get to watch her learn, be at odds, and how they appreciate her dancing and incorporate it into theirs, and she gives to them. And learns with there. That's a real neat give and take what they showcase there. This also, her friend here, I noticed, gay black man, just A-okay, fine. They didn't have to point it out. They didn't have to, act like they were heroes. I mean, it's just, it's
true.
Nice
it's true.
Casual, like, that's what we want. Like, the insert, like, it was just crazy that they were able to just throw that in there back then.
Yeah, it's the kind of character that if you watch that character, she calls him Cupcake, right? Isn't that his if you watch that character now, it's like, I mean, it's a pretty over the top kind of like gay best friend, but you're right. It's like but it's also cool because you're right. They don't really make a big, it's like, it's your friend. I got to say even cooler. It's not necessarily a leap for me to think that a jazz dancer in the 80s has a gay best friend. That's not so strange. What is cool is that he's also friends with Ozone and Turbo.
Yes.
Like they're just buds. And it's like, and like you said, it's not a big deal. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, I like that they're all because that's her. He's the way that he's the one who introduces to Turbo and Ozone, which I think is great. Yeah, I like that.
It's just funny to me coming from Canon Films, the like Israeli backgrounds and stuff they have, that they would just be boom, like it's just totally controlled, like looking at the screenwriting perspective, cinematographer, producer, director, that just let's do this. Like I would think, yeah, it's crazy to think that just or maybe they just had the actor and let him be who he wanted to be. That's possible too.
It's true. Another thing that you might know, because I mean, I think maybe you have more information in front of you, is that like, I don't remember who the rival. I think I remember who's the rival.
Electro Rock.
Do you know the Electro Rock? I love Electro, but do we know what became of them?
No,
There's two main guys.
The one that looks like he could be John Leguizamo's like older brother.
He does. And then
the guy,
the other guy with the Pink Floyd hats for some reason.
And the hair.
Like,
he had some good
right?
hair.
Yeah.
And the woman on their team, that when they dance, she looks like she's got switchblades in her hands when she's doing her little hand motion. I'm like, oh, she gonna stab somebody? But yeah.
I really love. Yeah, I love that. That's another thing too, is that introduced, I think maybe for my young mind, the introduction of a dance battle. It makes sense to me because I'm coming from genre, so I'm coming from like sci-fi with like these are the good guys, these are the bad guys, or you could say or in a Western or whatever. And so it works, even though, again, Breakin is very PG. It is not a dark, gritty look at urban life or anything. The violence in that is really more suggested and stuff. Like unlike
it's too silly to be intense,
right? Like what's the movie with Michelle Pfeiffer? Oh, Dangerous Minds.
Okay,
have you seen Dangerous Minds?
Yes.
Like
who didn't in
Dangerous
the 90s?
Minds?
We bought the album.
Right.
We went and saw them.
No, yeah, great. Yeah, I mean, spoiler alert: one of the kids dies in Dangerous Minds because of I think gang violence. But that you never really feel that in Breakin, like even though. In theory, like you could go down that route if you wanted to, but they don't. Like, which I really love.
No,
like,
the worst is the creeper racist dance instructor for Special K. Her regular dance.
Oh, the rapey guy. Yeah,
rapey guy. Like, he's totally racist too. He is way racist.
He's pretty awful.
This movie has a villain.
Yes,
it's him.
Yes, he's the right. Wait, actually, although I will say, I don't think he gets. I would say it would be a thing for that character to get punched. I don't think he does.
He just got.
I think he just basically. Gets owned.
He got served.
Yeah, you're right. He got served. I'm sorry. You're right.
He got served.
Yes.
But and they have that club that they put together, which I'm watching it this time, and I'm like, oh, this is just a really small stage that they made look better. Like it's.
Oh, but I love it.
I do love it. Yeah, when Ice-T, the cinematic debut. In a feature film of Ice-T. He was in a documentary before this, but
that whole scene is terrific. But you're right; it's probably just a set. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Although I have wondered, because I was from Chicago, there were certain movies that when I thought of Hollywood and I thought of Los Angeles, certain things come to my mind. The two big ones is Sunset Boulevard and Point Break. Those are my Point Break, like was of my age, and then Sunset Boulevard, just classic, one of my favorite classic Hollywood movies. But even to a degree, Breakin, like they have a lot of use at Venice Beach and stuff. And so I am always wondering, like, wow, man, I wonder, are any of the locations in Breakin still around? Obviously, Venice Beach is still around.
Right? Well, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. But like the dance. The big dance thing at the end, I have no idea where that's supposed to be. Is that supposed to be downtown LA, like the Los Angeles Theater or something? I don't know.
Probably could be a set too. Could be a set,
Right. But I would wonder that. I'd be like, that'd be cool to take the Breakin tour of LA.
The Breakin tour, yeah, definitely. Get that going on. Christopher McDonald is in this movie.
He's great.
He's great.
He's good in it. Yeah.
And because of what we
Thelma
know,
Louise.
the roles he would play later, you feel like something's up with this guy, and he's just a really nice guy. He has an arc.
He's the agent, which typically is a sleazy character.
And he sends her gifts, and it's like
he sends her the flowers.
And he's like,
and
street dancing belongs in the streets.
You're right, but you're right, because they've already got what do they call it in wrestling? The heel? Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Is the heel the bad guy, the foil? Or we've already got the dance teachers. He's the main.
Yeah,
he's the jerk. So they don't really need to do that for the agent. And I like that. I like
he stands up for them. He doesn't sleaze them out. He pushes for them. He buys into it. He gets some opportunities. He treats Ozone and Turbo with respect. Like,
yep.
Like, and you're like, this is Christopher McDonald. He's supposed to like be a dick. Like, I've seen Happy Gilmore. I've seen all his roles. He's got a snarl, but this is way before. Like, he had been on like Cheers before this. Like, that was so just really interesting to watch your own like meta thoughts on him not play out.
It would almost be like that guy. I don't remember his name. He's the jerk reporter in Die Hard, and he's the jerk teacher in Real Genius.
And Ghostbusters, he's the guy who...
And Ghostbusters, like, he's that guy, where it's like, oh, he's the...
Yeah, Christopher McDonald would be him in the 90s, yeah.
Correct, right, that guy. Like, that guy would be, yes. Actually, has that actor ever been a nice person in a movie? I don't know.
I think he was just that. That's how you wanted him if you cast him. Oh, yeah. Well, kind of. He was in, wasn't he in Spielberg's Sugarland Express with Goldie Hawn? He was the boyfriend.
Oh, you know what? I'm terrible. I've never seen it.
Oh, I think he was.
I've never seen that in Duel. Those are the two. Is that his first and second?
Yeah.
People love
Duel's
Duel.
a television movie. And
right.
It's a very good television movie. Probably one of the best television movies of all time. Seek them out, Pete. They're good. And we have of course, this dance movie stuff would be without a montages and sequences like that. But
yes, basically a music video. Yeah. Speaking of music videos, right?
Love the one training. Maybe I just like the song, but the Shaka Khan "Ain't Nobody" training montage.
Of course,
like,
fantastic.
That one. I'm like, yes, oh yes, like dance. And I have to mention, of course, Ozone and Turbo working the convenience store, the broom dance sequence.
Yes,
all timer.
That's the. Is that track Tour de France or something? I remember I had the actual back in the day. I had when I had vinyls. I had the extended play of that track that he's doing when he's doing the broom. Yeah, I love that like track. There's a lot of I feel like they also really picked a lot of really good music.
I love that. I just even the corny exchanges. There's a big moment where things are down and out and Special K goes to Ozone on the beach, and they have a heart-to-heart.
yeah, the Rocky silly. 3 moment. Yes, it's Rocky 3.
But it's earned.
On the beach.
It's earned.
It is. No, it is.
It works.
It's the same. Yeah. I'm afraid. It's great.
I do like it. We also have, of course, a scene where, the rich people are made fun of. You go to the rich people party, like, oh, what is this?
The hoity-toity party, yes.
Hoity-toity party. And then in the end, of course, the big showdown with in front of the cracker white people that are like, what is this hip-hop dancing you're doing? And they're like, oh, I love it. And they turn it into this stage production.
It's funny because in my Step Up essay, one of the things I like about Step Up 2 is that I feel like in most dance movies, we usually have the snotty girl, and then she meets the street person, and then, they have chemistry and blah, 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 blah. And what's interesting about what I liked about Step Up 2 is I like that Brandon Evigan's character is just a kid from Baltimore. She doesn't have really any privilege, and it's really the guy that's really more the rich guy, which I really like. Strangely, we haven't, with all the dance movies that have come since then, even in the Step Up realm, they haven't done that a lot. What's interesting about Breakin is obviously this is way earlier, this 84. When the movie starts, we see her as a waitress. So our first impression is, oh, whoa, so she's just working. She's doing her best. But not really, because then we later find it's one of those weird things where I wouldn't say it's a misdirect, but it's more, I think we're supposed to think that Kelly is a person who comes from money, but she's trying to make it on her own. And that's the issue, right? Whereas Andy in Step Up 2 really doesn't have anything to fall back on. She really does. Like her mom's gone. She does. In this, they sort of are like, oh wait, unless that's in Step Up, maybe I'm confusing the two. Do we not find out that Kelly has rich parents until Breakin' 2? Maybe that's Breakin' 2.
That's Breakin' 2. Like this one, nobody's got parents.
So this one, she's the waitress, and we're just like, oh, she's struggling. But I like that. I mean, I don't know. It's weird to me how like a certain formula happens, and then Hollywood or whatever just kept that. It's always like privileged girl, usually white girl. Would it Save the Last Dance? Or is that another one? And I like all these movies, but yes, I do. I like it if our main character somehow has to struggle a little, even if it's a silly dance movie. I like that paying rent or whatever is still means something or whatever. So
because that's what a lot of artists have to go through. Yeah.
I mean, I ask you, do you like Breakin' 2 also?
Yeah.
I do. I don't. It is a weird thing. I feel like people love the name. It's a great name. Electric Boogaloo. Yeah. It's fantastic. But like for me, Breakin'
at the end of this movie's so bold it promises a sequel.
It's true. Yeah.
Coming soon, Electric Boogaloo, the dance sensation of tomorrow.
This story's through, but wait for part 2.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bold.
And I remember back in the day, I was watching on my television, Roger Ebert was at the Cannes Film Festival, and he was interviewing the cast. I'm assuming it must have been for Breakin' 2, and they were asking plans, and Boogaloo Shrimp said they wanted to do Breakin' 3D. And I was like, oh my God, they're going to do Breakin' 3D. This sounds amazing. And it never happened.
Oh.
It would have been great. It would have been, I'm assuming it would have been like Friday 13th Part 3. It would have been the dual camera.
Right, yeah.
Obviously, it's not going to be Avatar doesn't exist, so it wouldn't have been digital.
Right. But wouldn't have been done for depth.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Imagine a Breakin' 3D. An alternate universe where that exists.
Could have done it. Should have done it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie, I gotta mention, like, talk about Breakin', this was a big hit. Like, it wasn't
like for what it costs.
So it cost $1.2 million and made back $38 million domestically.
Yes.
And I got curious. I popped it in to the inflation calculator. This is today. If this Breakin' was made today, it would have had just a little over $3 million budget and made over $100 million.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's insane. Like, that is huge. Like,
I would be curious, because you know this better than me, is the biggest at that time, because we're not at Blair Witch yet, at that time, is the biggest independent movie, is it the first Halloween? The first Halloween was like 60 million. It's a lot, right?
Yeah, but oddly enough, it was... So, for some reason, the first Ninja Turtle movie qualifies as a independent feature. I don't know how that is, but it's under the realm. I think New Line picked it up. There's something with that production that's independent, and it got thrown in there, but I don't know. I remember reading about thinking it was weird back in the day, but because there was Halloween had some sort of independent record until Ninja Turtles, and like I don't know how that happened, but do you know? So another monumental 80s film came out. They debuted the same weekend, and Breakin' took it down. Do you know which one it is? I was stunned.
Took it down?
Took it down.
In 84?
84. The week of May 4th.
I mean, I would be so happy. I don't want to get into a fight, but I would be so happy if it's Ghostbusters, because I don't love Ghostbusters. No, because
Ghostbusters and Gremlins opened together same weekend. But this
what was it?
16 Candles. Breakin' topped it at the box office. And 16 Candles.
I can see that.
Also, Hard Bodies and The Bounty came out that same week. So 4 new movies. I think we talk about having a lot of movies nowadays. Like, these still happened back then. But Breakin', it held strong at the box office till Beat Street came out. But Beat Street only made $12 million. 16 Candles made $23 million. And it like falls quickly, 16 Candles. Breakin' had a steady roll.
Whoa, so Breakin' made more money than 16 Candles, which also means I'm assuming 16 Candles. 16 Candles is a Universal film, so it must have cost more to make. It must have.
Yeah, had to have. It was a small budget, but yeah. Ebert said of Breakin', a stiff and awkward story interrupted by dance sequences of astonishing grace and power, 1.5 stars out of 4.
Yeah, I remember. I remember that review, and I think
You got it wrong,
Breakin'
Roger.
2. Yeah,
Oh, really?
I think he comes around on Breakin' 2, and I feel
But he
like
won't go revise Breakin'.
right. But I feel like if you go on YouTube, you can watch Siskel and Ebert talk about the first Breakin', and Siskel likes it.
Okay.
Siskel's like, "Who cares, man? It's got such great energy. It's funny. Who
That's
cares?"
right. Yeah,
and
that's
Ebert's
the
like,
thing
"No,
with me.
yeah, yeah." Ebert. I mean, hey, Ebert's one of my favorites, but yeah, of course,
Yeah.
you got it wrong. I was going to ask you what. Wait, so Breakin' made 38 million? Is that what you're saying? 38 domestic. What did Breakin' 2 make? Because it wasn't a hit.
It bombed bad.
Can't believe Beach Street only made 12 million.
12 million? No, it debuted low top 10 and was out in like 2 weeks. Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo, 15 million.
Oh, still more than Beach Street.
Yeah, 15 million. It came out the following year, Christmas time. So year and a half later, you got Breakin' 2.
I mean, I wonder if Breakin' 2 had made maybe 20 million, maybe we'd have gotten Breakin' 3. 3D. If it had just made a little bit more money, because it still would have not been expensive for them to make. I don't think Lucinda Dickey was suddenly getting a huge paycheck for Break, because you said she probably was under contract for Canon, right? Like you said, so she would probably just a player. Like, so, man. Do you think that it would be cool if, unfortunately, because there's only 2 remaining, but would it be cool? Would you be interested if they did a Breakin', either a show or movie, something where they would bring back some of the original players?
Oh, yeah, of course.
That'd be kind of cool.
As long as
I think
kept it fun and didn't try to get too serious with it. Like,
well, yeah, I agree.
This is the last Canon film to be released by MGM United Artists. They apparently, at the time of this release, they had a disagreement over John Derek's Bolero, which had an X rating, and MGM UA didn't put out X-rated stuff. So that was the end of their partnership.
Wait, are you saying Breakin' or Breakin' 2?
Breakin' 2 is a different distributor. The MGM didn't put it out. It was yeah, Bolero, the one where John Derek directs his wife to have sex scenes with other men. That had an X rating, and
I totally forgot about that movie. I don't think I've ever seen it.
Yeah,
like, oh man.
But no, I love Breakin'. I really do. It's weird. People are like,
it's funny,
ironically. I'm like, no, unironically, because it's fucking great.
Do you have any movies that you think you love ironically? I don't know if I do.
Well, I don't.
I know Hackers. Hackers is another movie I love, but I don't know if I love it ironically. I just really like Hackers.
I love like a movie like Miami Connection and like.
Sure.
Like Dangerous Men, but is that ironically? I'm getting entertained. Like, I'm sure things are done poorly, and that's why I'm laughing. But that's entertain. Like, to me, that's not ironic. It's just like that entertains me. So
I guess ironic is meant. I think what people mean by that is that it's not what's intended. Oh, the Room, right?
Right. Yeah, The Room. Yeah. The Room. Troll 2. Yeah. Plan 9.
Troll 2. Right. Yeah.
But, I love that stuff. Like, I grew up on Mystery Science Theater 3000, so I always loved those movies. But I'm like, I have a fondness, and I enjoy them because I'm entertained by them for those. They do more for me than a lot of comedies can't do. Like, that's the thing. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, people could be like, that's mean to the people who didn't mean to make a bad movie. But I'm like, sure, but I appreciate these things. Like, I'm thankful for them for making them. So it's like, that's great. Like, you didn't. That's not the goal you set out to accomplish, but you accomplished a goal that a billion other filmmakers wish they probably could have. Like, there's people who try to make bad movies and suck at it. So, I don't know. Right.
Traditionally, studios have a hard time. It's kind of the same thing where I think studio films have a hard time being deliberately campy.
Right.
Like, a camp movie is hard to make.
Supposed to be genuine.
System. It's a weird. Strangely, I think I love the show, but Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie, I don't think it's like the worst thing ever, but I definitely feel like it's a movie that I think it's Fox, right? I think it's a big studio. But I think it's a movie that they're trying to somewhat tap into a camp quality, and it doesn't quite work. I still like other aspects of it, but if Whedon and I forgot who his co-writer is on that, but if they had made that on like a zero budget or something, it might have a much more genuine quality to it.
I think part of the rep for that is Joss Whedon not shutting up about not being happy with that for years. So I think people who are relatively fine with that movie, like all of a sudden would turn just because they have, well, Joss said this, and it's a fine movie. It's like it works. Like it's got a cult fan base, stuff like that. Like it's okay. No, the TV series is way better, but the film's still not that bad. It works, but
it's the example of like although technically is Rocky Horror Picture still a major studio? And that's like
that was Fox,
the king of camp.
Fox put that out.
Oh, Fox again. I mean, all right. I mean, that's a camp classic, so or cult classic, whatever. So, like, would I call Breakin'? Is that a cult movie just because it's?
No, what's weird is I think box office hit. No way.
Yeah, but I think people now would think it's a cult movie
because it's.
But you're saying it's not.
Forgotten. It's not.
Right, because I was like, it was a huge hit.
It was a huge. There's movies that are Academy Award nominated. People are like, it's a cult film. I'm like, no, but it was Academy Award nominated. Just time has passed, and it's not in the conversation. That doesn't make it a cult film. Like a cult film,
correct.
A cult film has to like have horrible reviews to go with bad box office or something like that, and be underseen entirely. You don't.
Would that be? Is Blade Runner that?
Blade Runner is a cult film. Yeah, the original Blade Runner is a cult film.
The original Blade Runner. The Thing, Carpenter Thing.
Yeah, John Carpenter's The Thing is a cult film. But then I argue, too, as time has passed, they were cult movies for so long, they've been brought up in the lexicon as films you have to see and bona fide good films. It's reflected. So are they cult films anymore? That's a question I've been posing a lot. Like, in the recent years, it's like,
so you're saying that status can change.
Is Rocky Horror a cult film? Everybody knows what that is. It's popular. People do it. They have midnight screenings of it. Like, you can buy a Blu-ray of it. It would be on TV. Like, sometimes they reverse. Like, they were a cult film for a long time, but now that cult, like The Big Lebowski, is it a cult film anymore? They have a festival for it every year that's overpopulated and sold out. So that's my thing. Like, is it a cult? Like, and it's harder in our information era. It's harder to find something that's truly a cult movie, because you can find a podcast on it or this. People are wanting to find that next cult movie and populate things up. That it used to be something you heard word of mouth, someone told you about. Not something you could go and find 80 articles on or something like that. So I'm not going to gatekeep cult movies, but I'm just wondering on the definition. I'm like, is it right anymore, or do we have them? I would say, I mentioned Annihilation earlier. Probably a good candidate for modern cult movie.
I mean, critics liked it though.
Critics did like it, but I mean, critics
liked it, but
you could be a critically liked movie and poor box office and then no Academy Awards and still be a cult film, because then the critics are pushing the cult thing away. It's just, it's hard to find what I would deem a real cult classic nowadays, because everything's there. Everything gets promotions. Everything gets talked about. There's the in defense of everything, or
true.
It's weird. It's weird.
I mean, I think that popular horror series, and to the same degree, popular dance series like Step Up movies and stuff, I think those are mostly profitable and they're a brand. So I don't know. It's just that what we would think of as mainstream audiences, when they think of Friday the 13th or Step Up or something, they think that they're just like kind of not very good. So to that mentality, it becomes smaller or culty. But they wouldn't have made that many Friday the 13th or Step Up movies if they weren't making money. Right. So like, yes, they were clearly hit. And everybody knows, if you say Step Up or Friday the 13th, people know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Even if you haven't seen it, you know what it is.
But if you say Subspecies, there you go. There you can. I would argue Subspecies is probably still cult territory if you want to call any of those a classic, but it does have their fans, I guess.
Interestingly, my brother and his wife have a series that they love, and I've never seen it. and I think they like it like a cult movie. And I'm curious if you have you seen Undisputed 3? It's some action wrestling, like MMA, maybe an MMA thing or something
with Michael Jai White.
Okay.
I had to do the DVD for 2. It was about him boxing in a prison in Russia.
Yes, I think it's a pure prison thing. Yes, I think you're right. I think it is a prison. That's the theme. But yeah, so that is not super big. I'm
right.
like,
there's
there's
a lot of action movies that are like Indonesia is like a hotbed for action movies right now. I don't know why, but you can find all these on like some of them come to Netflix and stuff, and like I would say that's good candidates for cult movies, or definitely a lot of the action movies nowadays because you have to hear from somebody about them. So yeah, they probably yeah. It's just it's not that they're gone, right? The definition altering, and we live in different times. It's evolving. So
was Texas Chainsaw Massacre a hit?
Oh yeah,
consider that a cult?
No, that was
a hit?
That was quite that was well reviewed and phenomenon of the time. It traveled. Releasing was different back then, but it was quite good. I would say
I always think
cult Black Christmas back then. That was a cult. It was a Canadian movie.
Okay,
got smaller release. A lot of people look back on it now. Had a home video life, but that would be a cult movie. I would think from that era.
I mean, I tend to, when I think of the 70s, I think of Halloween and The Exorcist. Yeah. So you have a small movie and then you have a studio film, and they were both juggernauts. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I'm always like, well, I know it's critically liked, but I'm always like, I don't know how big it was. Like, I mean, and it took forever to get a sequel. Like, how long does it take? Is it the 80s?
It was 86. Yeah.
So you think Hooper just didn't want to make a sequel? Which wasn't.
And then all the slasher guys got popular in the 80s. So Cannon gave Tobe Hooper a 3-film deal because Tobe Hooper wasn't getting any jobs. And they said they gave him a 3-film deal as long as one of them was a sequel to Texas Chainsaw Massacre and had Leatherface in it. That was their deal. And they also offered it up to Carpenter to do Michael Myers. And he was down with producing one, but Mustafa Akkad and I think Irwin Yablans was still ownership rights. Thought he was trying to sabotage shit with the script he was approving and stuff, and that deal got pulled. So, but Michael Myers, they were supposed to do a Halloween movie in 86 or 87 with Cannon Films, and that never happened. And pulled on Carpenter was supposed to do a multi-picture deal with them too, but couldn't get that to happen.
What we're also talking about is the eras that these came out in. I do wonder, obviously in the 30s and 40s, you have Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers are making a ton of dance movies. I'm pretty like, if we had friend of the show, Yancey Burns here, he could tell me, or maybe you can tell me, I'm sure that at the same time, Swing Time and those movies were coming out, there must have been smaller produced dance movies that other studios were making, because at the time that was very popular.
Yeah.
So it actually makes me wonder, like, if Breakin, if somehow the culture was even more into that they wanted more of it, like they did in the 30s and 40s, we might have had like seven of those things or whatever.
Right.
Whereas what the culture was interested in was slasher movies. So we got a lot of Friday the 13th and Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street and everything. But I do think that might be like a cultural, like what people really wanted, what teenagers and stuff wanted at the time.
Well, we also got a lot of slobs versus snobs comedies too,
you're right.
So that was popular as well.
But yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think of that. But either way, I love Breakin'. It's absolutely one of my favorite films that I grew up with and that I've seen so many times. I honestly think that I know I saw Breakin' more in theaters than The Empire Strikes Back. Mm-hmm. I've probably seen The Empire Strikes Back more than I have Breakin'. I've seen The Empire Strikes Back so many times on VHS, but honestly, Breakin' is probably in the like top 5 for like a thing that I just watched all the time.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, Empire, I've seen that more. That was just my go-to.
Just what
was that something you watched a lot? Like, I'm assuming you saw
Empire Strikes Back. The Empire Strikes Back special edition is the movie I've seen in the theaters the most times.
Oh, how many?
It was only like 5 or 6 times, but that was without a car when I was I think it was like a freshman or a sophomore in high school, and I'd have been 15, so yeah, no car. But yeah, I just, because I was like, I don't know if these are ever going to come to the theater again, and I actually saw it. Every time I saw it, I picked a different spot in the theater to see it. So I actually sat like to the side looking up like that to watch it one time.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that was, people will knock those special editions, but those were a big deal to me because I got to see Star Wars on the big screen for the first time. So, but yeah,
Were you not into slasher movies until later in life, or
no, I was in
time?
slasher movies then. Yeah.
Okay,
I saw Halloween H2O twice in the same day when it came out. So
whoa,
I saw the first and last showing of that day. It was a big deal to me. So,
wow. I did that for Force Awakens. I saw it first and last show. I haven't done that a lot.
I saw Attack of the Clones at the midnight show and then the 4:00 show the next day. So
4 a.m. or 4 p.m.?
4 p.m. 4 p.m.
Okay.
So
nice.
Yeah.
I think the most I've seen a movie is 7, but I feel like 2 or 3 movies I've seen 7 times. I saw Phantom Menace 7 times, Terminator 2 7 times. And actually, I think I saw Breakin 7 times. Breakin's a little trickier because I was in elementary. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I feel like I saw it a lot. But I feel like 7 is my cap.
I saw Batman Begins like 4 times. Because I kept finding people that hadn't seen it. I was like, oh, we're going to Batman Begins. Let's go. I was like, we're going there. Let's go see it. But I know, yeah, Empire Strikes Back Special Edition is the film I've seen most in the theaters.
Wow, that's awesome.
Fun fact.
I mean, that's great.
What else? This is where we just talk about anything we've taken in recently, like or maybe put out in the world. So like movies, music, games, books, whatever. Pete, what else?
The other thing that I've been really into, so games is Mass Effect. Have you ever played Mass Effect? I never know how
Not
much
a big
games
gamer. No, not much. My gaming's retro gaming, and I swear I'm going to play Breath of the Wild all the way through.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, Breath of the Wild. Amazing. Mass Effect is a sort of Star Trek meets Star Wars. The fun is more like Star Wars, but the setup is that, you are a captain of this big spaceship called the Normandy, and you go and save the universe and everything. But I will say that, so Mass Effect, what's interesting about Mass Effect that I think you might be interested in is that Mass Effect is one of the first, actually technically I'm sure it's not the first, but maybe it's the first on a big scale. It's the first video game. The original Mass Effect, the first one came out in 2007 or 2008. And then Mass Effect 2 and 3 were like 2 years apart or whatever. When they decide to re-release Mass Effect, what they did was they took the code and they kept the same Unreal 3 engine. I think right now we're on Unreal 6 or something. And what's interesting to me about playing the Mass Effect trilogy again a decade later on my new shiny PlayStation 5 is that it runs great. The load times are fantastic. Same voice acting and everything. But they didn't remake it. And I think that's an interesting. Final Fantasy just was done as a remake. Final Fantasy used to be 2D kind of 3D polygon. Yeah. And now it's this lush 3D thing. And it looks amazing. But there is a difference in a video game between a remake, which means they take the essence of, they trying to keep the spirit of the game, but it's basically a brand new game, or a remaster. Remasters have been done before, but they're usually within a smaller time frame. Like The Last of Us, the first one is maybe a year or two between the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4. What I think is interesting as a film fan is that this remake of Mass Effect, it kind of reminds me of a Criterion collection.
Gotcha.
Because when you look at a Criterion film, the idea, or even I remember you and I have had these conversations off podcast about the arguments people had when, I think you said Halloween, was it when it came on Blu-ray or DVD? And the way they did the transfer, some people thought this is wrong, this looks terrible, and other people are like, no, this is great, this is what they wanted, or whatever. And that becomes a thing in the kind, that becomes a conversation. So that is very much a big thing in Mass Effect, where they took the code, they used the same engine, but obviously what worked on a 720 HD television is not going to work color wise on a 4K HDR. So they had to make changes.
Right. Yeah.
And in general, I would say the critics mostly like it. But there are some who really don't. They're really like, no, this totally takes away from the aesthetic of what the original was. And that, again, that's what reminds me of the conversations about a Criterion transfer or the Halloween transfer. Because you know so much more about that than I do. But there is an art to taking something and you want to make it watchable or playable on a new television and a new audio system. But it's always, I guess, that balance of like, how much are you doing to keeping the essence of what the art of the film is? Sort of like when you're talking about like a Fulci, right? The first time you see Zombie on Blu-ray, it looks way cleaner than whatever VHS you saw of like that. But so I guess, but anyways, I love Mass Effect. I'm a huge fan. It's a huge trilogy. I've already finished all 3 games. I've already gone through my 70 hours and I've already started a new campaign. And I'm sure Aaron, friend of the show, will say I should be watching more movies. But I'm a huge fan of it. But I do think that's an interesting conversation, is that we are in these last 10 or 15 years, we're in an era of like, what do you as a fan want, or what displeases you about taking something from an earlier era and then repackaging it in a way? I don't know. I think you must find, because the Halloween thing, you know so much about that stuff.
Well, I mean, ideally, that was supposed to be one of the benefits of CGI. Like, you're supposed to be able to continue to work on it, to continue to, and they don't, typically. They don't. I mean, some get polished up, but not to the degree that we thought they were. So you get these 90s movies with these, like, prehistoric CGI that were intended to be refurbished. It's only been done, like, Star Trek The Next Generation, when those came to Blu-ray, they had to completely
they redid
the
those
effects,
because
they were rendered in like SD and wouldn't transfer.
Yeah, it would be 480 or something.
They had to rescan the films, re-edit the episodes, redo the special effects. Like that's what was the intention. But now we just keep moving. Who cares? Just release it as it is. So. But because it's really expensive too. But I mean, the Star Wars movies, as they've come to home video, have tweaked their effects to look better.
I think when people jump on the special editions, they just mean Jabba the Hutt and Han shooting first, because there's no way. I mean, I still have the laser.
There's cosmetic fixes that I don't want to go away. I don't want to see through cockpits. I don't want to see shadow boxes around ships.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Oh, is that what it's called when you see the
shadow
ship
box?
And there's that weird box thing. Yeah. I don't want that. So I was like, no, that would be terrible. Like, yes, absolutely. Because what people talk about, I want the original Star Wars. I'm like, you don't really want the original. You just want those scenes taken out.
Yeah. You want at least to start at the THX versions from the 90s.
Yeah.
That's the start.
Right.
Yeah, so there's that. But what else? I watched Willy's Wonderland over the weekend with Nicolas Cage.
I don't know what that is.
He doesn't say a single word in the movie.
Oh.
He's this guy who has his car break, like he runs over some police spikes on accident, and he has to get his car fixed in this podunk town that doesn't have an ATM. And he doesn't have enough cash to have it fixed, but they offer him, like, if you work for it, we'll do it. And there's this old Chuck E. Cheese type place called Willy's Wonderland, and he just has to clean the place up overnight, and they'll fix his car for him, have it ready in the morning. Well, this place is like haunted, and the animatronics come to life, and
it's the video game thing.
Has to survive the night. It's Five Nights at Freddy's, which is something
Five Nights at Freddy.
My kids are obsessed with, so they're all asking about, like, how is this movie? Would 5 Nights? I'm like, I thought it looked like fun. It was, for the most part, fun, but it did look and feel a lot cheaper than I thought.
When was it made?
Last year. It came out last year.
Because I'm like, I feel like if this was a classic 80s or 90s Cage, I would have heard of this. So.
But no, he was a producer on it too. But It's all right. It's not long. That's good. And it's not the special effects that look cheap. They actually look pretty darn good, and they have people in costumes and stuff. But it's the aesthetic look of it looks cheap. Like just not by design. Just like, oh, has this person directed anything before or something like that? But it's on Hulu.
I think it's, I think you hit the nail on the head there, because I know that I also recently watched Event Horizon, and I don't really have a problem with the aesthetic, but I did, and I like the movie, but I did feel that there was it feels like the kind of thing where I was like, oh well, they didn't have Ridley Scott alien money,
right?
I'm like, so it doesn't look like that. I still like it though. Whereas I just keep thinking of it because you have it in the background. I watched the 4K. Did you tell me it was a UK release? I watched Prince of Darkness.
Oh, yeah.
Yancy let me borrow it. Mm-hmm. And that's not a big budget movie, but it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
The way they did the Mercury shot with the devil's hand coming out or whatever, it looks great. Like, I mean, Carpenter's use of like
at the
space.
end is one of the most haunting images I've ever seen of that thing coming out of the building. And that's cheap old movie with a film. And it's horrifying. Like, just but good stuff. But Willy's Wonderland.
I've never heard of that Nicolas Cage. Interesting.
But so that'll do it for today. Pete, thank you for coming on the show proper. We had loads of conversations. So if you are into the uncut video version episodes, I'm sure there's a lot more going that you missed on this that went into there. So good stuff all around. And let my listeners know that I'm sure they'll hear you again on a commentary here in the near future. But until then, where can they keep up with and find your work?
Oh, on social media, I'm like on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm Pajamo, and that's on YouTube is where I'm trying to do my doing my video essays and movie reviews. I'm hoping to get some more up there, and then I write for same place as you. I write for whysoblu.com.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I mostly do theatricals. You do more of the home video stuff.
There we go. True. Yeah. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brandon4KUHD. Written work of whysoblu.com. This Friday, if you are in the Midwest or Indianapolis area, come to PopCon convention. I'll be a guest there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Come see me at my booth. I'll be doing a live show with voice of the show, Jessica Alsman. She'll be joining me for that. She'll be there Saturday too. And then also I'll be on a Doctor Who panel discussing the show. Been invited on that, so pretty exciting. And so come see me there at PopCon Fort Wayne at the Indianapolis Convention, or Indiana Convention Center, I think it's called. It's going to be a fun time. The first event there since the pandemic. Pretty awesome. So, all right. Well, there is also more of this week from the Brandon Peters Show. But until then, always remember to keep the positivity in your online film discussion.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.
This story's through, but wait till part 2.